Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Resilient Voices of Refugees podcast. Today I'm really honored to have a special guest who is called Pascal, and he's a great leader and a winner for so many awards. And I know if I have to introduce him, I won't really do justice. And so, Pascal, if you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about who you are, where you're based at, and what you're currently doing. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Solange. I'm actually very much honored and glad to be here to feature in your podcast. I should start by commending you doing such a wonderful job to put here, so keep it up. Yeah, so briefly, I'm Pascal Milambo Muzungu. I'm a Congolese refugee from Zambia. I think we'll go deep into that later on, but I just completed my undergraduate studies at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology here in Ghana. And that's to say that I'm a Mastercard scholar, I'm a Resolution Project Fellow, I'm an Amahoro Fellow, and to meet you. So I'm so much excited to be and I look forward to this amazing podcast. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Pascal, for such a great introduction. You mentioned about, being a Congolese, living in Zambia, then going to Ghana for education. I'm curious to know, how has life been in Zambia? I'm from Dar es Salaam as well, and I've been living in Rwanda for the past, I don't know how many years. And I know life hasn't been that easy living in a country as a refugee. So, how has it been like for you?
Well, I think just like many other refugee camps, because I was born in a refugee camp and I grew from there. Life has not always been so smooth for displaced communities. And for Zambia specifically, you are faced with, let me say, strict laws that make it hard, like that restrict your movement, that restrict your employment capabilities and opportunities, and also that because you're in a refugee camp, sometimes you are not exposed or having the chance to attend the best schools in the country. So mostly it's a life that you are living, let me just say, in a rural area. And with that, you are much deep international supplies, and then you have many other local-based organizations. And also, one thing about life as a refugee in Zambia is that you learn to survive on your own because time goes by, those support cut off. So you are pushed to find your way life in a foreign country despite all the tight regulations in place. So basically, it's been a life that teaches you survival and a life that exposes you to discover yourself and how best you can support your family if you do have one. And for students, it's a life that you have to find your salvation. Yeah, because at the end of the day, you have to strive and see which opportunity you can explore for you to make it out there.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I hear a lot of refugees, saying that opportunities are scarce, especially those, aims to access higher education. How did you manage to get the scholarship to go to university at Kwame Nkrumah University? How was the journey like?
Oh, sure. That's a great question. So I actually had a scholarship that came my way earlier in junior primary school because we had this charitable organization called Pestalozzi International that came to look for talented students from disadvantaged backgrounds. So I remember that time I was in Zambia. We have from grade 1 to grade 7 as primary. So I was still in grade 5. Yeah, and we're young, around 11 years there. And we had to do entry exams. And lucky enough, I scored so well that I was selected. And through that same scholarship, I was able to study all the way up to senior secondary. And one thing that was given in that scholarship was, let me say, a mentorship program. And that's also to say that we are moved away from the camp. So while on that scholarship, I got the chance to study from the capital city, which is Osaka. And so from my grade 5 primary all the way to I did it from the capital city Osaka, and there MasterCard scholarship. Approaching the final exams that I need to score good grades so that I can apply for it. And when the time came, I was well braced to go for it because I had also had exposure in student leadership positions where I was serving as the deputy head prefect. So it was a good opportunity for me to acquire a scholarship, and lucky enough, once again, the MasterCard picked me to pursue my undergraduate studies here at Ghana. That's how I was able to come. So.
Wow, that seems to be a long journey, but also what I've picked is that, like they were looking for talented individuals or students, and like people who demonstrate leadership in their communities, and I can imagine how competitive all those opportunities were, especially that there are thousands and thousands of people looking for those opportunities. So what helped you? Like, what do you think that made you really stand out from all the applicants? Maybe a person can learn one or two things from maybe the strategy that he used to be selected.
Sure. I think the first one I can say is preparation. And preparation comes, let me say, in different forms, but one form is consistency in what you do. You don't prepare when the opportunity has come. You prepare in what you do every day. So you can imagine the first opportunity came when I was around 11 years. So you don't have much about responsible planning or managing your life as such. You're just a small kid playing around the compound. But I was quite consistent with my grades even at that time. So, and how I was even called to the test was so funny that the teacher just entered the classroom and was asking me if they called you to study in capital city, would you go? And I was excited, like, yeah, I would go. And that said, okay, you write the exam. And I thought it was that's very day that I was going to go, and not it was a long process. And so back to your question, just that most times we wait for opportunity to come before we can prepare. But I think what helped me was that I had been preparing before the opportunities came. So preparing unconsciously, not knowing what would come. And then the time they came, I also continued to prepare towards the very exams or the very applications. So the earlier preparation was the consistency, and then after I was informed of the exams that were coming or the opportunity, I prepared fair. So I think preparation is key. Then the second one is research. Research. I want to separate the two because you could prepare, but if you don't do much research, your preparation won't be sufficient. Because I remember every time I wanted to write an exam or application, I would consult people, especially those maybe who walked through that path, and try to get more insight of what to expect. And also, I think character helped me in a way, because you see, when you're respectful or when you stay humble, people can easily help you out. So I think a few people saw that in me, and they were always reaching out, trying to help even before I could ask for it. So I believe if somebody has humility, they respect people, and they are eager to prepare enough, research enough, they can be able to do well. And another thing is that they should be able to pray a lot, because sometimes it's God's grace. Yeah, sure.
Wow, I can imagine. I don't know what I was thinking when I was 11, but I don't think I was as smart as you were, because I wouldn't even think of, looking for opportunities at that age. So I would just say that I'm really proud, of who you were back then, but also who you are becoming. And I have no doubt that, the future is even more brighter. And so, what do you think was the biggest challenge in accessing education? You were 11, but I can imagine there are a lot of challenges that you could face, in the journey. And, what do you think was the biggest challenge?
Well, I think the biggest was the financial challenge. I do remember very well. Not so much, because in my family we're about 6, and that time we're all schooling. So at some point, the family was running short of funds, and so we had to change the school. We had to go to a quite far away school, which was of less costly compared to the one that was nearby. And that same financial challenge extended to the stationery we're using for our academics, the uniforms, and the meals. Let me just say all the necessities required to excel well. So that time, sometimes you'd feel devastated, where if you compare yourself to other students, you feel like you are less of the other. Yes, and also that we are learning in a government institution, so sometimes the quality of education is that of not so much, because sometimes teachers can decide to come, not to come. No one will bother. And also that the way you interact with students, you don't meet students who are so committed, because they don't see so much future after the secondary education, because of the financial limitations also at their own. So the language is different, the discussion is different even amongst your peers, making it hard for you to be fully focused. Like let's say your circle influences also how you do or relate to things. So I think those were some of the common challenges I faced, especially while growing up in the camp.
Oh yeah, you mentioned about poor quality education, and you reminded me of a conversation that I had with a friend recently, and we were discussing that a lot of organizations are now focusing on access to higher education, but we actually forget about the foundation, which is the primary and junior high school, senior high school. And so we're like, time will come when there are opportunities for higher education, but there are no people to access them, because they didn't get good education from the beginning. So I can imagine how challenging that was. And I think it also affects your future education, because if you didn't get the chance to be trained on how to actually access these available opportunities, I think it would be really hard for you to get opportunities. And you lived in Zambia, and then opportunities came, you were sponsored, and then MasterCard Foundation came, you went to Ghana. How was it like to be in Ghana from Zambia? I can imagine, I don't know if it was your first time to go outside Zambia, but how was it like?
Okay, so well, it wasn't my first time outside Zambia. I had been to Zimbabwe once with my school on a school trip, but this was like the major trip I'd taken in terms of the distance, the length of stay outside my country. And one thing I can say is it's been a life-changing experience. especially that when you are in one area, you have a certain way your mind is oriented and a certain perspective you carry about education, life, and the global life. But when you travel, you also get to explore. You see other side of the story, and that also changes how you think and how you reason. So I think the common uh, lesson that I see most of us that have had the chance to come out, especially me, that I picked was the the opportunity that lies ahead of us to make a change where we come from. When you're in your community, sometimes you can see problems, but you are blinded to the opportunities that are available to solve that problem. But when you travel, you can easily see the solution to the problems you've been always living or facing in your community. And that, of course, was that exposure was the changing ingredient we needed, or I needed to see my community in a unique being that I have this opportunity and so I have to utilize it for the better good of myself and others as well.
Oh yeah, I can't agree with you more. I mean, like when you travel, you get so much experience. You meet people, who have different perspectives, and you get to interact with, like different people. And I think even just walking around, seeing how people interact, how people think, I think it's something that can really change somebody's life. And so I'm curious to know, did you feel like different? Because I hear a lot of refugees when they go to study maybe in a different country, they always have identity crisis, like having to explain yourself. Having to explain how comes you're from DRC, but then you live in Zambia. Why are you not Zambian? Why don't you speak a certain language? Did you experience the same thing, or for you it was different?
I experienced it, but not so much to a large extent, because the MasterCard here has people from all over Africa, I should say. So once you mention your country, it's acceptable. And for me, the critical truth is my parents are from Congo, but I was born in Zambia, so I carry the refugee based on my bloodline. But personally, I've always lived in Zambia. So every time somebody asks me, I always choose whichever I want to tell them. So if I tell you I'm from Congo, you take it that way. If I tell you I'm from Zambia, you take it that way. The further explanations is reserved for those who are close, or maybe for special cases. Yeah, and like I said, this is a diverse community which is not so judgmental. So once you tell them I'm from this place, they'll take you that way. Maybe it's later when you have a certain meeting and then you get to introduce yourself in another line, and then they are shocked. But we thought, and then like, yeah, I'm bored. Then you end the story that way. Yeah, but I haven't really faced that. And personally, I should say that I've never felt guilty to tell my story, because I just think I didn't choose it. It chose me, if I can put it that way. Because, for example, nobody chooses which country they are born in, which family they are born in, your color, your race, your tribe. So I don't think it is a good idea to ever be ashamed of who you are. It's who you are. Maybe it's for God's purpose that you were born that way, in that scenario, in that family, in that situation. So I just started to say, okay, so be it. I'm this, and then I have to face whatever that lies ahead in that path. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean that's really exciting to hear, because I know a lot of refugees have to hide, that they are refugees because they are scared about what people think about them, and especially the biases about refugees and the stereotypes that comes with that status. So I'm really glad that you were bold enough to defend who you are. And as you said, I mean, like, it's not your choice. You didn't choose to be a refugee, so why should you be ashamed of it? So that's really a great perspective, and I think refugees should learn from you. Like, you shouldn't be like, afraid to say that I'm a refugee. And I know you've been
But
go ahead.
yes, so I just wanted to add that especially when you're outside the country, it's not a big deal. Like, to my perspective, I feel like when you're inside the country where you are actually registered as a refugee, that's why sometimes you face a lot of restrictions. Like I said, outside, once I say I'm from here, you have no right to inspect me or anything. But when you are within the country where you're registered as a refugee, that's why sometimes you face restriction. For example, you might be unable to access employment, or you might be scrutinized by immigration based on the papers you carry, and your movements are limited. And then there's always this, let me say, perspective, like you said, of all refugees. Others see you as an outcast, while others see you as an innocent kid who just happened to be in that situation. But the majority of the people tend to see you as a threat to their country, and somebody who doesn't deserve maybe to be in their homeland. So that's the part that makes me feel otherwise about being a refugee. But when I'm outside, it's well and good. Yeah, I wanted to clarify on that part. Sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I think it's a common challenge for refugees. I know there are a lot of services that you can't access as refugee. There are a lot of jobs that they can't offer you because you are a refugee. I personally have been struggling to travel. Sometimes you can even be arrested, because your document is questioned. So there are so many challenges that comes, with that status. But again, there are also, like, opportunities that you can get, and so the challenges shouldn't really limit you to continue and move on in life. And I know you've been a leader for a while. Of course, I don't know, like, so many things about your leadership position, but I know you've been serving as a president for the International Student Association on campus. And so, how did that come? When did you start to feel like, I'm a leader, I can, bring change?
Interesting question. Even up to today, I still ask myself, but how? How did I come to this conclusion? All right, so I think it's maybe it's leadership in progress, I should say. Though I've been a leader, but I think I'm still learning and growing into leadership. Yeah, so you remember earlier mentioned that in SHS I had the position as deputy head prefect in my school. So when I came to Ghana, I had this friend who was just living next door, and under the Mastercard scholarship we have the Scholars Council. So in the Scholars Council, they wanted to kind of appoint representative for different cohorts, and during our time they wanted an international student to represent that cohort. So I was asked by my friend next door. He used to come and I could assist with whatever he wanted. So I think he thought of me when he heard of that. So he nominated me, and that's how I got into the Scholars Council. And there I got some exposure on how things were done in administration, and also had the chance to represent the international scholars community, because after that nomination I was then elected to be the rep for all international students who are scholars under the Mastercard scholarship. So from that exposure and my service as a scholars international student representative, many, I think, were impressed by my commitment and dedication to championing the welfare of the international scholars and the overall scholars community, and they kept encouraging me to go for the general body, which is like for all international students, regardless whether you're a scholar, you're not a scholar. And that also includes exchange students who come from Germany, USA, Canada. Like, as long as you are KNUST as an international student, you are part of the International Student Association. Yeah, and I had to think until I felt like, wow, am I not sacrificing myself if I enter this path? Yeah, and more concerning was that I was transitioning from my third year to final year, so I had to think much of time. Will I have time for this? Yeah, the grounds were giving good signals. The people were responding well that I would support you. But then I said, well, if we've come this far and we have to make impact, we shouldn't shun away from these positions. Then it means we will not be able to access bigger position in future. The Lord so wills. So I had to make the choice and said, okay, let me declare. But also aside that, I had to look for the team that I was going to work with in case we made it. So we put those strategies in place, and there we had it. We won, and I became president, and I just handed over now to the incoming president. But I should say that I'm glad to have made an impact, and yeah, the testimonies are great on the ground of our journey now. So.
Wow, I love the fact that you say that it's a continuous journey, which means that it's something that you have started, but it didn't end. You know, you're still leading, you're still making change in the community, and which is something to be recognized and to really appreciate. And I know you've won so much awards, you know, like recognizing your leadership. And so I'm wondering, how did that influence you in creating a change in your community? You know, you're leading, people understanding what you're doing, and, you know, your leadership is being recognized. And you're a scholar, which is something, you know, prestigious. And so, you know, like, how did that influence, you know, how you think about community development?
It gave me a new perception, actually, and I should say that being a leader is a blessing. I should say it's a blessing, and it's a great blessing if you have good intentions for the people and the community. Because when a community is selecting you as their leader, it means they're entrusting you with their welfare, and they are simply saying, look, we can all do it, but we want you to be the one doing it at this particular time. So it's a privilege and it's a responsibility at the same time. And for me, I think it changed my perspective of what we think leadership is and what real leadership is. Because before I got into it, I had certain perceptions about the community, about the leadership aspect, administration. But when I got into it, I began to see realities in the sense that sometimes as a leader, you will stop doing certain things, not because you want to stop, but because there's a community behind you. And sometimes as a leader, you have to start to do certain things, not because you want to start doing, but because there's a community behind you. And that alone grows your capacity, and it inspires those following after you. And I also learned that you really need to have principles in life, because there are times you are tested and tempted sometimes to go into riotous ways of advocating for welfare. Sometimes we are tempted by being disrespected by our fellow students, sometimes abused by higher officers. But as a leader, you have to to maintain your emotional intelligence, and you have to choose which is the better path that will give you the goal that you are after. So overall, I realized that with wisdom from God, let me put it that way, with wisdom from God and humility, you'll be able to strike a balance on how you manage both the community you are leading and the top management that you have to cooperate with for the community problems to be attended to. Yeah, just like in any working space, you usually have supervisors, you usually have people above you, so you're not like the supreme leader. So now that balance between yourself, the people, and the administration above will really develop your sense of understanding and reasoning. And I think for me, that was my biggest transformation, especially this year. And like I said, when you have pure intentions, you will not look at what will satisfy you. You will look at what will benefit the community and move the association forward.
Wow, that's really powerful. Mentioning about just having the heart to serve others. Because I know there are a lot of people who think that, if I become a leader, maybe I'll get, compensated, I'll get money. And so when things turns up, like the other way around, maybe, the money doesn't come, or maybe the people you're leading aren't respecting you or aren't valuing your contribution, you start thinking, like, why did I even start this? And so what I'm taking from what you said is that it's really, like having that passion and that heart to serve the community, and to not really think about, additional benefits that you can get, even that can come, even though they might come in the future. But if you don't take it as a priority, I think you really stay motivated and grounded. And I know that, yeah, sure. I know you are the founder of Hope for Refugee Foundation, and I personally know that you've been doing amazing things, but I know people who will be watching this might or might not know the foundation. So if you can take us through how it started, why it started, and I'll take it from there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Also, Hope for Refugees Foundation is an NGO, a well-registered NGO in Zambia that exists with an aim to simply empower the marginalized single refugee mothers, support the refugee youths, and be able to assist or help the refugee students improve their living standards and achieve their goals. So at Hope for Refugees Foundation, we have different goals, different goals based on the age group that we are working with. But the genesis is actually quite interesting in the sense that it did not initially start as an NGO, it started as a community project. So when I came to Ghana, we were given some task under MasterCard to do community project of your choice. So for me, I had to look back to where I'm coming from and see how best I could be of help in my community. And I realized just like any other community, problems are many. But one thing I realized was there was this need for assistance to the refugee students, especially. So we had to strategize to see how best can we help them. Now, the level of students we were trying to work with were the younger kids. Just like you said, little focus is going to the primary students and secondary now. Most of it is to the tertiary education. So we wanted to go to the grassroots and see how best we can help. But then we realized we had very little funds, which meant that if we had to go and give something to those students, it would vanish, and that would be the end of the story. We had to strategize and bring in their parents as supporting pillars to our initiative for their children. So what we did was we had to look for, let me say, single refugee mothers who are in a way looking for some capital to do their business, and then we empowered them with those capital to do the business with an aim that if our profit they'll make, they'll get a shoe for the child, they'll get a book for that child, they'll get a pen for that child, and in a way we'll be sustaining the project that we are doing. And like if we just get all the money, buy pens, buy biscuits, buy this, the children will feel good and they will love us, but it will not be sustainable. So that was how we brought in the women, and that was how we did the first batch of the funds to empower the women with capital. Later on, we said, okay, while the women might have this fund running, let's also do something. So we had to find a way that our project was going to be sustainable. So we brought in their mothers so that as they did their business, whatever profit they made was going to support their families, meaning we are not taking back anything. However, we also formed a committee of the mothers that every time they're empowered, they should be able to pass on the empowerment to the next people, and that they should be able to give a report of how the progress is going. So over time, we realized that it was doing well, and the number kept growing, and so we said, no, let's get this thing secured, especially that should be legally recognized. That's how we pushed for it to be certified. And so as it was growing, I also realized I can't do it as one man show. I had to invite in some of my friends, most of whom were with me at KNUST Ghana, but are from Zambia, and some, like one is from India, another one in Kenya. So these are different students who also saw vision and bought into the idea of what we are doing, and they came on board, and that's how we are able to form a team that is driving the Hope for Refugees Foundation. And also we have 2 more workers who are on the ground, like in the refugee camp, our site, where they frequently monitor the progress of the project. So we've been basically giving support to the refugee mothers with that support, and now we are able to provide even our direct support to refugee students in stationary seminars and other things. And this time around, we are working towards the empowerment of the refugee youth, especially creating employment opportunities, where we've started a rice venture where we want to have our own rice, which is well branded, and commercialize it by selling to commercial markets. And obvious, that's to say that the land over there has very good soil for rice farming, but most of them only do it under subsistence because they don't have capacity. So we've tried to acquire some funds so that we can take it to commercial level, and then sell to about 3 of the major mines which are in the region, and in that way create more employment and grow the impact of the organization. So
Wow, that's really inspiring, because I can imagine as a student, I just graduated last year, but I know how tough it was, especially the schedule, and again, you want to excel. So I can imagine the time invested in, like initiating and then convincing people about the idea. And as a student, you don't have money. You're like, how do I start? For me to put a person on the ground, of course, like I don't have to just convince them with words. You have to maybe compensate their time. And so how was it? Like how did the process go? Was it something smooth for you, like as a leader? It was something that you're like, I've got this, or was there some setbacks or challenges that you faced along the way?
Oh yeah, the journey has not been smooth from the very inception of it, because if you look at the amounts that were given for community projects under the scholars program, it's less than $45. Look at that. It's less than $45, and you have to do a project with that amount. So it takes a lot of sacrifice also from personal level where it's okay. Do you have anything I can also add to this amount so I will get somewhere at least? And then also like the strategy is what has helped us the most, because despite us having starting small, the strategy made sure that we don't go below what we have started with. Rather, it should continuously keep increasing, no matter the pace, no matter how slow it is. But we should not go below what we've started with, so that we keep adding +1 and not minus. Yeah, and then also for convincing the people, I think the key major issue that has to be mentioned is the type of people you are speaking to, because I've come to realize that just like in life they say that he that wants to help you will help you, they will not go left, right, center. So I've tried to sold the idea to so many people, but only those see the importance join. That's the easiest way I can put it, because there are people I trusted and thought they were going to easily join, but because of how they reasoned, it wasn't possible, and I couldn't force or do my very best to convince. It's not like I'm trying to get a funding from you. No, we are just trying to build something that promise you to come in based on money match or based on profit. Because it's not a profit to make out of this movement, so that when you are ready to sacrifice, you can easily sacrifice without having to feel alone. Then the second thing that also helped us was the very women we were working with. We had a lot of dialogue with them at the inception, where we made them understand what it was, the vision.
I lost you for a second. I don't know if it's my network.
Yes, so like I said, we had also to make sure that the women are involved from the very beginning. So in the planning and in all ground rules making, they are involved. So now they own the NGO as well. It's not like we impose it on them. So that has really helped us to cement its existence, and they take responsibility while running it. Sure.
Wow, that was a huge work, and well done, really, because I know it's not the easiest thing to do. I also run an organization, a refugee-led organization, but I know what it costs, to make it stand and to put it out there, and for people to trust that you're actually serious, especially in the community where you grew up in. Sometimes you might bring an idea and they're like, oh no, we know him, he can't bring anything serious. So I would say that really congratulations and keep up the great work. And so like how how do you sustain the initiative? Do you maybe get funds? You do fundraising campaigns? Because I know it's really hard, especially in the current world that we are living in, where the fund were cut and things have really worsened. How are you adapting? Or if you can give us an image of how it was before, were you affected maybe, or is still normal?
Yeah. So sustainability first strategy is our, let me say, our system of operation. Like I said earlier, to make sure we don't go below what we already have. So we should always be maintaining plus improvement. That's one, meaning without funding coming, the organization should always exist. But then because of the other projects that we have, we seek external funding. We've not really run a fundraiser campaign, but we've applied to different organizations for funding, and we're able to secure some. And some of them we've managed to secure not only like the funding in terms of money, but also some payment in kind. Like there is an organization from the UK. I think those who have NGO like yourself and others, maybe who have not checked it, they can check it out. It's called TWAM, Tools with a Mission. So TWAM, TWAM. What they do is you give them the project that you want to do, and you tell them the equipment that you need, and then they'll supply them to you. So for us, we had to look into a project I wanted to do, which is skills training, income generating skills training for the women. So we're looking at into sewing, and then just like farming earlier I mentioned and stuff. So we requested for those tools, and they were approved. So we are expecting them, and that also will take the organization further as far as impact is concerned. And then for the funding, like I said, there are organizations out there that are looking for youth-led organizations, especially if there's some composition of refugees in the organization, and they are willing to fund. So the encouragement that should be there for most of us, especially in the displaced society, should be to be bold, to be courageous, and to be brave enough to start up something, regardless of the little that you have. Start something, believe in it, and seek support from the people out there who have those funds ready to fund you. Yeah, it's not an easy process, but once in a while you can get something, and that will make a change in someone else's life. Like I earlier said, remember ago, this is a humanitarian work, so it's service to God and to humanity. So no matter how little it will be, no matter how long it will take, one little impact, one little change, it can be the only motivation or the only push students back in the village needs to also believe in education, believe in the possibility to achieve their dreams. So we just do it at not in a rush, but at a very steady pace, to say whatever that will be able to acquire, that will use for the benefit of the community itself.
Wow, that's really impactful, and how I wish that so many people can have the same, kind of mindset to think about serving the community and addressing the challenges in our little or big capacity. And so how does that make you feel, seeing all the impact that you've made in the community, looking back, reflecting on the challenges? I mean, you're still young, but seeing like the impact that you've made so far, how does that make you feel? Proud, anxious about the future? How will I maintain this movement going?
Yeah, it's so let me just it makes me feel good. It's let me say it's a great feeling when you passed through a certain phase of life, and then you didn't like certain things during your time, and those things were not changed, and now you have the opportunity to come back and make a difference instead of just complaining about them. So one thing that I would say is the reward is fulfilling, and that fulfillment of the heart, I think, is joy. Yeah, you just feel joy to see that you are now contributing to the community, and I can say that the present for good work is more work. So if you are doing good work, the best way to reward yourself is to do more. Yeah. So when I look back, for example, when I was in the camp, I realized one thing, which was that most international organizations or assistance, yes, they were helping families, they help the marginalized communities, but they don't make them self-sufficient or to live independently. They help them, but the people remain dependent on those aids, which I find a problem with, because take for example in the world of today where the international organizations and governments are cutting off much of their aid, it means that the people being dependent on those aids are going to be greatly affected. So one of the fulfillment that I have looking at Hope for Refugees Foundation is the mindset we have to help the people be self-sufficient in their own capacity. So for example, if we give you capital, you will not need us to be there for you to run your business. And we don't just give you capital, we also bring on board a business seminar to teach you how to invest, how to save, and how to scale up, and also manage your expenses. So that in an instance where HI or Hope for Refugees Foundation does not have any further funding, you shouldn't feel affected. The same thing with students. We want to have a platform where we are helping them, but also we are helping them get exposed to the world so that they're able to stand the test of time on their own. That's the same mentality we are taking even in our RISE project venture. Remember, we said we should not make less than what we have. So if we start it, we ourselves, we have to improve it by selling to commercial markets, get it certified by Zambia Bureau of Standards so that it is able to even be exported if we reach that capacity. That means we are also becoming self-sufficient. And then also the people that we are going to employ, the refugee youths on the farms, in the processing plants and the lives, we are also instilling that same mentality in them to say, take care of your life, take responsibility, because there may not always be organizations to help you, but once you know what to do, once you take control, you don't care who comes, who doesn't come, you sustain yourself. So I think that's what really gives me a sense of joy when I look back into HRM. Yes.
Wow, that's really inspiring, and I would say really keep up the great work. And I know people feel so happy that you exist in that community, because there are very few people who are like you, who think about others, especially when you're also struggling. We are still young. This is the great time to hustle, as young people. So, like getting time to really think about others, I think it really requires the heart that you have and the passion. So keep up the great work. And approaching the end, you mentioned, yeah, you mentioned about getting the opportunity to join different networks, fellowships like the Amahoro and others. How did that contribute to maybe your journey? Was that helpful? And, how did that help you to keep up, doing the great work?
Oh, yes. Joining the fellowships has been a great experience. Yeah, and I look forward to what the fellowships do has in store for us. It has really changed my, let's say, my way of thinking, because most fellowships they're looking at people who are coming to solve problems, people who are coming to think critically and see opportunities where there are obstacles, and so for me, when I join opportunities like the resolution project tomorrow, I see getting into uh, a society of like-minded people, and also that I get the opportunity to meet people who know more than I do. I actually love to learn from those who know how. Yeah, like I said in the preamble, that it's still leadership in the making. We are still learning and growing. So there's always room for improvement, and that improvement is what I'm looking for, especially in the fellowships. I want to know, what don't I know about investment, what don't I know about community management, project management, maybe fundraising and all those. So the fellowships have also opened my eyes to see maybe other opportunities to connect with a wider network, and some of the people in the network to they have great ideas that even help you improve. For me, the fellowships are a great deal, and I really love them. In fact, I'm even craving for more so that I can learn from all angles and all types of teachers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. You mentioned about networking, connecting with people who share the same goal, and then that's remind me that I didn't even mention how I get to know you. Like through the Amahoro Fellowship, as part of the cohort 3. And so that's what these networks do. These fellowships, you get to meet people from across the globe who have different experiences. I don't think I could have known you maybe this earlier if it wasn't about Amahoro. And I know you've also got the chance to meet other fellows, and with the resolution project, I'm sure that you met other young change makers. And so as we wrap up, what would you tell the stakeholders, out there, maybe those who get the chance to watch this? Which kind of message would you give them, especially towards the support that refugee youth needs, refugee-led organizations need? I know there are a lot of organizations that have been trying to support refugees, but I know that there's also a gap that still exists. So what's your message?
My message is that they should support the refugee youths who are taking up responsibility to solve problems. And the reason is simple. When you've lived the experience, you know it better than anybody else. So even when you are drafting your solution, it's not coming from theory or from any book. It's coming from what you went through, what you saw people in the community go through with you, and also what you know is the root cause of the major problems that refugees face. Because most of the times we tend to solve symptoms. Somebody will come and solve the symptoms of the problem and leave out the cause. But when you go to the cause, you are already solving not just those problems, even future potential problems. So stakeholders who are the ability to fund should fund, those have the ability to teach or guide and mentor. They should be so willing to bring a great thing. And then also the refugee youths themselves should take up responsibility, because nobody understands this situation better than them. So if the refugees can take up that, the stakeholders should be willing to empower the refugee youths who are bringing the solutions to their challenges, because they've lived those experiences, and so I personally believe they can draft better solutions to solve those problems. And I was saying that the refugee youths too who are out there should also get interested in being involved in finding solutions to these problems, because when you have a solution, you should be the first one to stand up, accept your solution, and find a way to solve it, unlike waiting for other people to come and solve it for you. Yeah, and then for the government and policymakers, they should consult or involve refugee intellectuals, so that they can also add and contribute ideas on which policies can best be implemented to make the host communities much favorable for refugees. Because sometimes policies are made, laws are made, and some of the refugee intellectuals are not consulted. And at the end of the day, refugees suffer so much because of those strict and unfair laws. But if they are consulted, I'm sure a better policy can be drafted that will also be good for refugees. Sure.
Wow, that's really well put together, because most of the times we find ourselves, blaming stakeholders, but maybe when we look at ourselves, are we doing what we are supposed to do? And so from what you were saying, I think it's really a collective journey, like we have to do our part as refugees, but also stakeholders have to do their part as well. And, I can't really agree more. And thank you so much for highlighting that. And I would say that this is the end of this episode. It was really inspiring listening to your journey. I know you, of course, but I didn't know, most of the things that you mentioned. And so I would say that it was really an impactful conversation. I personally have learned so much from you, and I have no doubt that people who watch this will learn. And I hope that this is not the last conversation that we are having. I know we have so many things to discuss about, just that time is not on our side. So thank you so much. Yeah, unless you want to say anything, any last word?
Oh yeah, I would appreciate you. I would say that you're also doing a great job to get the voices of young leaders out there, and so keep it up. I'm also curious to learn about your NGO and the major great things you've done. I know you were at A University in Costa Rica. You've gone to, is it the United Nations? I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm also curious. I just don't have a podcast yet, but I should have a personal call to also learn from you.
Yeah, we definitely would do.
The last one is, so to whoever will watch the video, they can follow our media pages. We have media pages, which is Hope for Refugees Foundation, HRF. We have our Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and if they want any further details, they can contact me. I think you have my contact. All right. Thank you so much, and I look forward to more partnerships ahead.
Thank you so much as well, Pascal, and you have a great evening.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.